Good morning, everybody. Sunday morning, the 21st of November. Manchester United have officially sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's left the club by mutual consent. I'm going to read out the full statement from the club now. You let me know what your reaction is in the comments below. Let's waste absolutely no time here and get straight into this. This is a breaking news story. Manchester United have acted decisively after Watford, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been replaced as manager. Let's get into the statement. Let's go straight into this and discuss it together. This is the official website from Manchester United, the club statement on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. As you can see, manunited.com, straight from the source. Manchester United announces that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has left his role as manager. Ole will always be a legend at Manchester United, and it is with regret that we have reached this difficult decision. While the past few weeks have been disappointing, they should not obscure all the work he has done over the last 3 years to rebuild the foundations for long-term success, something that I have been saying as well. We go through here. Ole leaves with our sincerest thanks for his tireless efforts as Manchester United manager and our very best wishes for the future. His place in the club's history will always be secure, not just for his story as a player, but as a great man and a manager who gave us many great moments. He will forever be welcome back at Old Trafford as part of the Manchester United family. Michael Carrick will now take charge of the team for forthcoming games, while the club looks to appoint an interim manager. So what's your reaction to that? It looks like, well, Michael Carrick is in charge. It's not going to be Darren Fletcher. That's a little bit of a surprise, if I'm being completely honest, considering we saw it was all about Darren Fletcher. But no, it's Michael Carrick who's going to come in and be the interim manager for Manchester United. So the club has acted decisively here after what has happened yesterday. The statement is out by 10:30 on Sunday morning. That's why I went live with you earlier today. But Michael Carrick has been installed as the club's interim manager. Let's go down and read that little part of the statement again. Let's see down here. Go down. Michael Carrick will now take charge of the team for the forthcoming games, while the club looks to appoint an interim manager until the end of the season. As I said to you, it would be massively damning and a real indictment of the lack of trust that the club has in Michael Carrick if he was not put in as that assistant manager. But not as that interim manager, sorry. But let me know what your reaction is in the comments below. First and foremost, man, you can feel the pain really inside that statement about how little Manchester United wanted to reach this situation. Literally going straight in there with Ole is a legend, and he is a legend. But ultimately, it was absolutely the right thing that Manchester United needed to do, had to do with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He did need to be sacked, and the club has now acted decisively. Finally, I mean, I say decisively. It's not decisively, is it? It should have happened 2 weeks ago, but at least it's happened now. Chinedo over on Facebook saying about goddamn time. Which one is Carrick again? What happens to Phelan? He's more qualified for his interim position. Look, this is going to be a developing story. This is happening right now. This is breaking news, and that's why I've come live. Not that sort of. But so we're going to continue to discuss this as it comes out. But the official statement from Manchester United confirms that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been, look, he's left the club. He's left the role as manager. He's been sacked. We know he's been sacked. They can't really, they were never going to come out and say that he's been sacked. They were always going to wrap it up in a mutual consent or the fact that he's just left the club. But it has been done. What's your reaction, eh? What's your reaction? Man United, yeah, this is a comment I would absolutely agree with from Alan from Facebook. Shame on United and the Glazers. It is shame on Manchester United. Real shame. Hang their heads in shame in how Manchester United have dealt with this and how Manchester United have approached this. It really is shambolic how we've done this. But we've done it at the very least, right? And that's the sort of you can't take real victories out of this. If I'm being completely honest, it's the wrong way to look at it entirely. But Manchester United, we were left with no choice but to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, in my opinion. I thought that after a long time, after Liverpool, after City, and it got worse and worse and worse. But the club has finally acted and sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, Michael Carrick coming in. You let me know what you think about that in the comments below. That's the real big talking point here. The real big talking point is Michael Carrick, because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his sacking has been an inevitability for some time, in my opinion. And now the club has done it. The club has acted before Villarreal. So it will be Carrick in charge for the team against Villarreal. Will it be Carrick in charge for the team for Chelsea? Let's see what I would presume so. I would very much presume that Carrick's going to be in charge for our next 2 games. And the question here that remains is this, says James. You're spot on there. Well, surely the whole coaching staff need to go. I've said that as well. But Jay Quest, you're saying the question now is, what is the way forward? I might do a video on that later on today, potentially, because we need to look at the directions that we can. And as I said, I always want us to be as forward-thinking as possible as a fan base. If our club can't do it, it doesn't mean that we can't have the conversation about it. But the club here has acted decisively. As I said, let me read this statement out for you again, in case you missed it when you joined in. Manchester United have officially confirmed that Solskjaer has left the club. And this is what he has said. Well, not what he says, what the club has said. Manchester United announces that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has left his role as manager. Ole will always be a legend at Manchester United, and it is with regret that we have reached this difficult decision. While the past few weeks have been disappointing, because you didn't goddamn do it during the international break, they should not obscure all the work he has done over the last 3 years to rebuild the foundations for long-term success. And that's something I will be covering in a video. Trust me on that one. Ole leaves with our sincerest thanks for his tireless efforts as manager and our very best wishes for the future. His place in the club's history will always be secure, not just for his story as a player, but as a great man and a manager who gave us many great moments. He will forever be welcomed back at Old Trafford as part of the Manchester United family. Michael Carrick will now take charge of the team for forthcoming games. So no mention there of Darren Fletcher, of course, which is a bit strange, really. All we were hearing from all the journalists, we were hearing about from Fabrizio Romano, we were hearing from Simon Stone from the BBC, we were hearing from Laurie Whitwell and Adam Crafton from The Athletic, all talking about Fletcher. It's Michael Carrick. That might have caught people by surprise. As I said earlier in the stream, it would have been very odd if Manchester United didn't give it to Carrick and still kept him in the job. I personally think it should be Solskjaer leaving, with Mike Phelan, with Kieran McKenna, and with Michael Carrick. All of them need to leave the club as we start afresh. And we will do that. We will definitely do that once we've got our permanent replacement in. But on an interim basis, it's going to be Carrick, and it will probably be Fletcher there, and I imagine Kieran McKenna will still be there. Will there be much of a difference? I'm not expecting too much of a difference. Of course, there's going to be a slight difference. But in terms of how Manchester United play, what the setup is, maybe we'll see Donny van der Beek. Although I will say one thing about the fact that Van der Beek still hasn't been really getting in it, despite the fact that we've had Carrick, who's an outstanding midfielder, and Darren Fletcher, who's an outstanding midfielder. How they haven't really forced the Van der Beek issue is a little bit strange. And in the comments here, let's go for this. It's confirmed. Yeah, this is the official confirmation. This is no clickbait, this video. This is the official confirmation. And as you can see, the club statement there from Manchester United on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he has indeed been replaced. And you're saying Ole will get a new job, I'm sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if we meet him in the Champions League and we get... Yeah, I know. That's the way it works in football, isn't it? Football always creates those sorts of stories. I don't think he'll struggle to get a job. I think he'll stay out of management for a while. I think he'll go back to his family. I think he'll just take some time out. And I don't think he'll struggle for a job either. And I've held that opinion for quite some time. Lawrence, you're saying jumping from a frying pan into the fire. Carrick, you are jokers. As I've said before, I said it in my stream earlier. It's not unusual. It's very usual, very normal, in fact, for clubs to appoint from within on an interim basis. Because the concept of an interim manager is somebody who just needs to be there for a week or 2 or maybe 3 whilst the gap is bridged between a manager being sacked and a new manager coming in. That's all that the interim manager should be. That's all it needs to be. And in that sense, I'm not going to lose my shit over it being Carrick. Do I want it to be Carrick? No, I don't. I think Carrick's been part of the problem. Do I want it to be McKenna? No, I think he's been part of the problem. Do I want it to be Phelan? No, I think he's been part of the problem. But I won't lose my shit over the fact that it's Carrick for a couple of weeks. I'm frustrated for the fact that the couple of weeks wasn't the international break. It should have been Carrick in charge on an interim basis for a 2-week period where we weren't playing football. And then it would have been a very, very, very smart and logical thing to do. But instead, Manchester United have now sacked Solskjaer the morning after Watford. At the very least, we have to be content. I'm not going to say the word happy. We have to be content with the fact that this has happened at 10:30 on Sunday morning. Pardon me. As basically as quickly as it could have been. I know it could have happened last night, but they'll have 5-hour conversations. I'm going to go down here and I'm going to read through your opinions and your reactions, what you have to say here on Solskjaer. So make sure you get it in the comments because it's such an important video, this one. It's such an important conversation for us to have. Jack, you're genuinely thinking Fergie as an interim manager. And Matthew, you're saying maybe get Keane in among the backroom staff. He'll say it as it is. Keane as a coach, maybe. Keane as a manager, absolutely not. Eugene, exactly there. There's not a bit of sweat moment because if your sweat is bitter, you need to go to the doctor. But actually, that's probably a bit bitter. Anyway, it is bittersweet. It's massively bittersweet, and you can see it in the tone of that statement. Just the language that they used. It is with regret that we've had to reach this difficult decision. That's not a normal sentence for a statement of a manager being sacked. And it goes to show the sort of the levels of how difficult this decision has been to make. It was absolutely the right decision to make. Rajan, you're saying it's a sad day, really terrible day as a United fan. The United board are bigwigs and despicable. They turned the United legend into a shit manager. No, let's be honest. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. That Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his downfalls as a manager is not necessarily on the Glazers and the owners. What it is on is the fact that they, as I said, they hung him out to dry. I saw it happening and I didn't want it to happen. And it was a public humiliation. It was a death by 1,000 cuts. And Solskjaer's walking away with blood gaping from all these wounds that have been left open. And the fact that he walked towards that away end yesterday, and that away end that supported Solskjaer throughout everything and continued to support Solskjaer. They were booing him. Some of them were booing him. And that's that's the final memory. And that hurts me. That really hurts me. Solskjaer didn't deserve to go down in this sort of fashion, in my own opinion. I didn't want to see Solskjaer go out the door like this, effectively thrown out of the door. I wanted him to walk out of the door with his head held high as it could have been after the Liverpool game. And then we could have reflected on what happened. Instead, we've had to watch what happened in the 2 weeks after with the Atalanta game and the City game. And then we had another 2 weeks to fester on it during the international break. And then we came back and then Watford happened. That whole month did not need to exist. That whole month did not need to happen if our club was correct in how they operate. But they are not. And that is what has happened. Let me go down here and see what's going on. Keane said the players hung him out to dry and it has become real. Yeah, the players for sure. The players, absolutely part of this problem. But as I said, the players for me are symptomatic of the football club. Manchester United in absolute turmoil at the moment. And I think that, as I said, the players are symptomatic of how bad we are just on and off the pitch at the moment. Nazim, you're saying Carrick is the one who coaches the team. That is why we are so shut and he still gets the interim job. I'm speechless. As I said, Nazim, as I've said to everybody else, don't lose your shit over the fact that Michael Carrick is coming in on an interim basis. An interim manager most of the time happens from within. It's there simply as a stopgap, as a bridge between the manager being sacked and the new manager coming in. Now, the real problem here is how long are Manchester United going to take to find and make the decision on who that replacement will be? That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest issue because we know Manchester United likes to dilly-dally. That's what we like to do. We like to take our sweet, sweet time. So while we should be here having a conversation about how Michael Carrick and Fletcher, whoever's his assistant, probably Fletcher, is in charge for what should be only a couple of games, it could end up being a couple of months if United don't do this next bit properly. And I'll be honest, I've got zero trust in the fact that they will. I think Carrick and Fletcher will be here longer than we think they're going to be. And that's just history telling me how United act. Surprise me, United, man. Surprise me in the right way. Make a decision. Make it firm. Go for it. Get your man. Whether that's Ralph Rangnick on a short-term basis until the summer with Ten Hag, please. Whether that's Zinedine Zidane right now, paying over the odds, bringing him in. Cool. Make your decision and stick to it and go aggressive and quick. This cannot be dragged out. Don't drag out Carrick and Fletcher. That shouldn't be the case. I want a new Manchester United manager in place for the Arsenal game. That's not this Thursday. That's next Thursday. That's just under 2 weeks. That's long enough, in my opinion, for Manchester United to get this done. Robert, you're not wrong here. This should have been done during the international break. It's like waiting to sign players in the transfer window and then panic buying at the last hour. Exactly. A very, very good comparison there. It's like signing Edinson Cavani on transfer deadline day when he's been a free fucking transfer all summer long. Only Manchester United could do that. Let me go down. I'm going to keep reading your comments out here. Paula, you've got no confidence in the fact that the club will make a quick decision. I don't have any confidence in it. And that scares me. As I said, that really does scare me. And it fills me with fear about what comes next. That was always a part of why I didn't, why maybe I supported Solskjaer a little bit longer than some people. Because I did fear what was next. Because I know what is above Solskjaer in the board. And whoever comes in next, somebody said it in a comment, I think it was a stream last night, as whoever's got to come in has got to be a brilliant manager to cope with the circumstances of the board and the structure of the club. And that's why a lot of people have concerns maybe about Erik ten Hag, because he has the perfect environment for his success to achieve what he wants to achieve at Ajax, with Overmars, with Van der Sar, and the CEO. It's a perfect structure for him. That doesn't exist at Manchester United. That does not exist at Manchester United at all. Naeem saying, Sam, joining the show now. What does United do in the meantime while looking for the right manager? It's simply Manchester United. As I said, let me go back to the official statement. This is, as I said, this is from manchesterunited.com from the communications department today at 10:30, and we're discussing it live here. Manchester United have confirmed that Solskjaer has left, and this is where we're now at as a football club. Michael Carrick is currently our manager, right? So this is, I suppose you can draw parallels to when Moyes was sacked and Ryan Giggs came in, and he came in for the whole game. I believe James Wilson scored 2 in that game, if I remember correctly. Just off the top of my head, might be wrong. But it was different because Giggs was only in charge for a couple of games at the end of the season. This is November. 21st of November, and we are in a period now where we've got 10 games in the next 5 weeks. It's crazy. It's crazy that Manchester United have made this so difficult for themselves. On the back of egos and stubbornness blocking the obvious. It's like staring at an answer and just refusing to believe it, refusing to believe it until you cannot refuse it anymore. That's what's happened here with Manchester United sacking Solskjaer after Watford instead of sacking Solskjaer after City when we should have done it. We know that. Let me head down to the comments here and read a few more of your comments out. David Stretch on Facebook, you're saying the board had a 5-hour meeting and they still have got no idea what they're doing next. Why sack Ole and then have Carrick Fletcher to the end of the season makes no sense. David, I would disagree on that one. As I said, the interim appointment not always happens from within, but it makes sense, but that's what happens. Stephen, a lot of them should be ashamed of themselves. They've thrown him under the bus. The truth is, half of that shower shit are not good enough to wear that shirt. It doesn't matter who you get in. It won't make an ounce of difference. Now, Stephen, I'm not going to completely disagree with that. What we've seen here from Manchester United players, what we saw there against Liverpool, against City, against Watford, just an abomination. As bad as the coaching is, it doesn't mean that you have to play like that on the pitch completely. And of course, I'll say it's symptomatic, but Maguire, that red card yesterday had absolutely nothing to do with our coaching system and our coaching style. That was Maguire just making an abysmal decision, losing possession in front of his own box and lunging in and getting a second yellow. That wasn't on anybody. That was just on Harry Maguire. So, yeah, there are definitely players that all need to look at themselves and how they've dealt with this. Someone who's done it completely opposite, by the way, is that Donny van der Beek. How incredible was he yesterday to have that attitude and approach, even at the death? And can you imagine there, the last goal of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's management career as Manchester United manager is scored by Donny van der Beek. There's a huge amount of irony in that. It's the way it's cruel, really. It's cool, really. But well, Solskjaer should have really played Donny earlier. We know that Donny and Jadon Sancho on the right hand side looked fantastic yesterday. We've got a comment here from Marge saying, what about Mike Phelan and McKenna? Are they gone too? At this moment in time, there's no official word on it. Let me see if that's changed. Let me see if anything else is coming out. Michael Carrick. Yeah, so as far as the only statement that we've got at this particular moment in time, surrounds Michael Carrick. There's no word on whether Manchester United are going to be keeping Darren Fletcher. There's no word on whether we're going to be keeping Mike Phelan. There's no word on whether we're going to be keeping Kieran McKenna. Last night, we heard that we heard from Fabrizio Romano that Mike Phelan is also leaving with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, Mike Phelan's got a Twitter account, so maybe Mike Phelan will be tweeting at some point soon. Look, and this is something I strongly feel, man. I really, really strongly feel this from the bottom of my heart. I feel this. An iconic player who fulfilled his dream of managing his favourite club, regardless of how it ended. You will always be a United legend. He will be a United legend. He was and still remains my favourite player, despite the downfall that's happened here and everything that's gone on. And I'm retweeting that shit, man. I'm retweeting that. But yeah, as I said, let's keep this conversation going. Next half an hour or so, I'm going to be here, and I really want your opinions. Fire in your opinions, fire in your questions, and fire in your super chats as well to support the channel. Please, if you're new here, drop a like on the video and subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of the family. Let me go down to the comments here. Rahul asking my opinion on the next manager. I've said who I really stand by. I would like to see Ralf Rangnick on a short-term basis, and I would like to see Manchester United going after Ten Hag in the summer. For me, that sounds like the most logical, both in the short term and the long term. I can see a progression plan. I can see a whole plan lying in front of me there of how good that would be for Manchester United. Whether or not the club would do something as proactive as that, as smart as that, as logical as that, probably not. Ralf Rangnick is somebody who comes in and, well, he would rock the boat really with United's board. I'm being told here to check out something else that's coming out at the moment. So this, as I said, this is a breaking story, ladies and gents. We're here reacting to the news as it happens. Let's see what comes up here. Right, Laurie Whitwell. This is 3 minutes ago. Right, this is what he is saying. So we've got some word here on the coaching situation. Laurie Whitwell here is saying he believes only Ole Gunnar Solskjaer departs Manchester United for now. So disagreeing with what Fabrizio Romano said last night, he's saying that Kieran McKenna and Mike Phelan will both assist Michael Carrick. Darren Fletcher still has a hybrid technical director / coaching role. United had no plans to dismiss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but Watford made clear that change was needed. So we've got Laurie Whitwell saying that everyone's staying. Mike Phelan, Michael Carrick, and Kieran McKenna. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous that all of them stay. But at the same time, it all depends on the interim nature of it all. No matter which way you look at what's coming after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now, in the short-term basis, it's not going to be what we want. There is not going to be a immediate interim role that suits United fans, right? Because that's what happens when you sack a manager without a plan. You end up with a situation where you're like, we need someone in. Oh, come on, bring in Carrick. He's an assistant. That's just what's happening now. The thing that has to happen here is that this has to be a very, very, very temporary thing. I want Manchester United to, oh, Jesus Christ, the amount of times I've said this over the years, but I want Manchester United to act decisively and quickly with this, because we cannot have Carrick as manager with McKenna and Phelan as assistants for anything longer than a couple of weeks. It's madness. It's absolute madness that's going to be the case. I fear that it will be longer than we all think it should be. But let's find out. But yeah, according to Laurie Whitwell there from The Athletic, it's only Ole Gunnar Solskjaer who's going to be leaving Manchester United at the moment. Mike Phelan's still staying. Let me know what your reaction to that is in the comments. Kieran McKenna's still staying. Darren Fletcher's still staying in that sort of hybrid technical director. I don't know what he does. Paulie was saying that is beyond a joke. Better be for 2 games maximum. The coaches are part of the... Absolutely, Paulie, you're spot on there. It's definitely part of the problem. Sky, you're saying, Sam, do I regret us not getting Conte? My own opinion? No, I don't. That's just my own opinion. I don't think Conte would have been the right manager for Manchester United. I'm looking towards this long term, and I'm not ignoring the short term. But yeah, for me, Conte jarred with what I wanted to come next. Simple as that. I want someone who comes after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be set, and that's why Ten Hag for me just looks like I can see where United's squad and where anything we were going towards with Solskjaer we can do the same thing with Ten Hag, but just better in every single sense of the word. Someone like Conte would be a massive, I call it a U-turn. I say Manchester United have been doing U-turns with managers for a long time. Moyes to Van Gaal, Van Gaal to Mourinho, Mourinho to Solskjaer. 3 dramatic U-turns as a football club. What I want to see coming next after Solskjaer in a more permanent basis is not a U-turn, but a continuation of the direction we were heading in, but somebody who's better, who can do it better. Somebody who's at that elite level that can take the good foundations that Solskjaer has done and built and build on top of them, rather than ripping them all out and putting his own foundations in. That's what I mean by the U-turns. That's, for me, why Conte jarred with what I wanted United to go in terms of the direction. And that's why I'm not too upset. But keep firing in your comments about managers. You know, we've had lots of discussions, but clearly there's going to be so much more discussion to have about Manchester United's next manager. I'm clearly going to have to do a video later today, taking a look at Manchester United's interim manager and just listing the options so that all of us can have a conversation in the comments, because there are so many options right now being listened to, being thrown around. Bazzy, what you're saying there, buddy, we need to get it right. Simply, the squad will be way different by next year. We need to try and get a cup, and fight to keep our place in the top 4. Well, that's going to be the priority. Actually, no, the priority for our manager that comes in will very much depend, I suppose, on the result against Villarreal. Because if we bring in a manager and we're in the Champions League knockouts, the expectations will probably be on Manchester United to hopefully repeat what Thomas Tuchel did at Chelsea last year. Came in to a Frank Lampard team that seemed in utter disarray, came in and won the goddamn Champions League. That's what the ambitions of whoever comes in on the interim basis, that's what people will want to see with Manchester United. Ashley, Mike Phelan is a good coach, as he did help Sir Alex, but he listened to his advice, which I don't think Ole did. No disrespect to Ole. Ashley, I will disagree with you completely on that one. I think Mike Phelan clearly is a good coach to a certain degree. I think Mike Phelan was massively responsible for the excellent work that Solskjaer did in the beginning. But the fact of the matter is, our mistakes continue to repeat themselves. And that falls on Solskjaer, Phelan, Carrick, and McKenna. Everybody inside that coaching staff room did the same problems. They were all contributing to it. Andy, the Glazers wanted this situation to get this bad, so they had the fans on side when they sack him, says Andy. Geez, well, you might not be wrong there, my friend. You might not be wrong. Let's have a look. Carl Travis, Solskjaer sacked, milks it and goes live. It's almost like I run United People's TV to cover Manchester United news, and Solskjaer has been sacked. So I'm covering it as a news. It's very. Do you want to have a go at Sky Sports News for going and reporting the news there as well, Carl? Odd. Some comments are absolutely mad. Some I just have to call them out. Phelan is not even coaching the first team, says David. Well, that's not what we're hearing from, as I said, Laurie Whitwell. And this is, as I said, it's a developing story that's happening whilst we're live on stream. So things could change whilst we're talking. I'm going to see if anything else has been said. Yeah, but that I found a bit odd. Manchester United had no plans to dismiss Solskjaer, but the Watford game changed it. I was completely wrong then. I said in the build-up to that game, I said if Manchester United didn't pull the trigger after Liverpool or City, I don't see how losing to Watford would change that. But apparently it has. Apparently it did. Apparently it was Watford that made the straw that broke the camel's back. The point of no return came apparently after Watford. I'm a bit surprised about that, if I'm being completely honest. But let's see. And there's a comment coming in. You love your caps. When the caps locks goes on, Ant's angry. Said it before and I'll say it again. Nothing will change until the entire football aspect of the club has best-in-class football people in post. Well, you really are preaching to the choir there, and he's not wrong. And that's my fear of what comes next, is we might just be looking at the same situation in a couple of years' time. Unfortunately, history dictates to us that is the case. We've seen it with Van Gaal. We've seen it with Mourinho. We've seen it with Solskjaer. But Solskjaer was back to this season, right? We have to admit that. Even if we didn't sign that defensive midfielder, I would personally say that's just as much on the coaching staff as there is on the Glazers, because the money was there. Or was the money there? Or was simply Ronaldo like the ultimate Woodward signing? Because you know how this guy loves his marquee signings and them not really fitting what United need. There's a lot of conversations to be had about all of that. Ashley, what you're saying, who do you think should come in and who do you think the backroom staff would be? Thanks for reading my comments. Love the channel. Big up to you, Ashley. Look, as I said, I've made it clear. I want Ragnick in the short term. I want Ten Hag in the long term. That's my ultimate dream for Manchester United. That's what I would love to see. I think it would help United in the short term. And I don't know who Ralph Ragnick's coaching staff are, but of course, if Ten Hag comes in, he brings his whole team with him. Simply as that. That's what I want to see. I want to see a whole team come in. I don't want to see somebody come in and then Carrick and McKenna stay at the club somehow, get the high fives out. Boys, boys, boys. No, the old boys club is being broken up at Manchester United, and it needs to be broken up in the same way that the old boys club needs to be broken up inside our board. It needs to be ripped apart. It needs to be shredded. It needs to be burned into cinders. That's what needs to happen inside our board. But until the Glazers really sell, that won't truly happen, which is a fear that all of us have, all of us had, and all of us will have going forward for whoever is next. So it's going to be a very tough situation. Look, when Man City got Pep Guardiola, they spent like years building a club for Pep Guardiola, building everything. So it was the perfect environment for him to come in, simply focus on his football in an environment built for him. And success followed. Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool is a bit different, but they gave him the conditions for success with how much they supported him, and they made footballing decisions. At Manchester United, what we've got now is a club that's in disarray, a club that's utterly in disarray after sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We've got Carrick, and we've got, well, by the looks of it, Phelan and McKenna as his assistant managers in charge of our game against Villarreal, a must-win Champions League game. Go and lose that game, and then we have to beat Young Boys on the last game of the season, last group stage game to qualify for the Champions League, and that would be squeaky bum time. That's for sure. Ten Hag all the way. The coaching staff should also be replaced, says ASR. You're not wrong there, my friend. Collins, Tony, you're saying it worries me, Sam, when I hear the Glazers are offering more money to get Zidane. He should be begging us for the job, not for us enticing him. Tony, yeah, you're not wrong there. We shouldn't be begging anybody for this. Whoever comes in has to want this. And as I said, that was for me a huge, crucial, fundamental difference between Solskjaer and Mourinho, Van Gaal, and Moyes. Solskjaer had the best intentions of Manchester United at heart. That was at the core of every decision he ever made, I would say. I'm not just talking about on the pitch decisions and using players and not using players. That's getting into the pernickety side of things. I'm talking about the overall vision and the overall foundations of his decisions were to leave Manchester United in a better place as a football club than when he found us. And that's different. And I think if you get someone like Zinedine Zidane in and you basically just lure him in by paying him more, whereas in reality, he wants the France job. It's a bit like getting Di Maria when he just wanted to go to PSG. And then a year later, he goes PSG, gives two fingers to Manchester United, and we're left high and dry. I'm not saying that Zidane would do the exact same thing there, but it's a fair concern I think people have about him. Fire Solskjaer, says Seth, bring Zidane in or bring back Fergie. Fergie's not coming back, ladies and gents, in the same way that I want to quash any comments about Diego Simeone. You're wasting your time. Diego Simeone is coming nowhere near Manchester United. Any comments about Roy Keane? I think you're living in cuckoo land. Roy Keane's coming nowhere near Manchester United. Remember that Fergie's still an ambassador at the club, and Roy Keane will never forgive Fergie. He's already said that. Whilst Fergie is there, Keane will have no part of Manchester United. Remember that, people. That's what I'm saying. Focus your energies on what could possibly happen. Simeone, dead. Keane, not happening. Fergie, he's not coming back. So most likely of the three, but I still think zero chance there. Tim, you're saying some people need to understand the problems are not solved now. We are just giving someone else the chance to solve them. A very, very good comment there, Tim. And yeah, it is the situation which we have. And we know that. And that's why whoever comes in next has to be a very astute manager, a smart manager, a manager who has worked in tough environments before, because it's not an environment that's built for success at Manchester United. It really is a case of anybody who succeeds at United will do it in spite of the management, not because of it. It's like Fergie was the genius, man. He navigated post Glazers taking over in 2005, and he managed to come back and knock Mourinho off and then take back that control. Fergie was a genius, and no manager has been able to bring that sort of success in these conditions since. You've got Carrick back to square one, says William. He's worse than Ole. As I said, William, as I'll say to anybody who's joining in, there's plenty more joining in. Please drop a like on the video, ladies and gents. Please subscribe to United People's TV. I'd love to have you on board for these sorts of discussions where I genuinely answer as many of your comments. I try to make this the most interactive show for United fans on YouTube. That's what I try and do anyway. But William, you're saying Carrick back to square one. I personally don't particularly think that is the case because an interim basis, as long as it's an interim basis, that's what it needs to be. Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted, let's find out exactly what he said. This is an important one. This is about Phelan and those lads. Phelan and those lads. Can't believe I just said that. Anyway, let's bring it up here. Let's talk about it. Right. Mike Phelan and Kieran McKenna will stay at Manchester United as things stand after Michael Carrick asked this morning for both to help in the backroom staff. Manchester United are working to find an interim manager as soon as possible. So that's an interesting couple of points there. Fabrizio Romano doing a big U-turn on what he said about Phelan last night on his Twitch stream. He said that Mike Phelan would be leaving with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He got that wrong. Mike Phelan and Kieran McKenna are staying with Michael Carrick. So everybody inside that backroom staff, apart from Solskjaer, they are staying there for the time being. But Manchester United are working to find an interim manager as soon as possible. What's your reaction to that in the comments? You let me know. My opinion there, hopefully, what I'm seeing is that line there is quite crucial at the end. Because for me, what I want Manchester United to be doing now as a football club is bringing in an interim manager who will be staying at the club until the summer with the intention of then going for Erik ten Hag. That would align with what I want Manchester United to do. Who that interim manager is, that's the bigger question. I'm going to be doing a video straight after this. I'll prepare it. I'll get it out as soon as I can. I'm going to take a look at the interim options that have been linked to Manchester United. And trust me, there's been a lot of them linked. We've got Laurent Blanc. We've got Julian Lopetegui. We've got Ralph Ragnick is another one. There are lots and lots of names that have already been mentioned. But Man United are working as hard as possible to find an interim replacement. Anuj, how you doing, buddy? Now that Carrick is in charge, what formation and tactics do you expect? Will you be making a video on that? I'll definitely do a video on that. Hopefully tomorrow, Anuj. It's going to be a busy goddamn Sunday. That's for sure. And what you're saying, this is as bad as Boris Johnson choosing his cabinet. Jobs for the boys. Cronyism at its finest. It's happened at Manchester United for a long time. Suhail, can I apply for the United job with my 30 years of football manager experience? Well, Solskjaer learned a bit from football manager. Well, I didn't really get him that far, let's be honest. What's your opinion, eh? As I said, let me know what you think about that. Phelan is staying. Kieran McKenna is staying. Carrick is staying. That is the interim setup at Manchester United, according to Fabrizio Romano. All three of them are staying. As I said, interim managers and interim coaching staff largely are internal appointments, but they have to, Manchester United in this situation, it has to be the case that this has to be temporary. I'm talking 2 weeks max. I'm looking at that Arsenal game that's coming up, I think, not this Thursday, the Thursday after. That, for me, is the line in the sand. That, for me, is when I want Manchester United to have this interim manager in. Whoever that would be, that's a conversation we're going to have over the next week. It's going to be a big conversation that we're going to be having. I don't personally think it's going to be Zinedine Zidane. I might be wrong on that because if Zidane comes in, it would not be on an interim basis. Let me go down here. Apple Atkins, get a German coach, crack Klopp and Tuchel's code. Well, Ragnick will certainly tick that box. Rory, Zidane would surely take a payday for half a season. It makes sense for everyone. Rory, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Ladies and gents, do you think there is any chance of Zinedine Zidane coming into Manchester United on a contract until the summer? Basically him signing an 18-month contract, maybe a little bit less than an 18-month contract. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think there's any chance that Zidane could come in as that interim manager? Barrett, you're saying the internet having a breakdown over Carrick taking over. Who's going to run the team if they sack the lot? Ole has gone. Let's reset. That's a very sensible comment, and that's what I'm trying to portray to people here. It's not. Don't lose your shit over it being Carrick, Phelan, and McKenna. All right, they're inside the coaching staff. They're definitely wrong and not suited for the job. But now that Solskjaer's gone, of course it was going to be them that take over in the short term. It has to be short term, though. That's the big difference here. That's the big difference. Or Sam, is it true that Carrick watches Video United People's TV on his iPad? Could you confirm, please? I mean, I have seen it. I've seen it. I've been sitting behind the dugout and I've watched them. I'm saying, lads, can you stop watching my videos? We're losing 3-1 here. See, seriously. Fingers crossed Ralph comes in with Ten Hag later. That's a dream situation. Or I know that's something that you think well, we'd all like that. We'd all like that. But let me go and see what you think here about Zinedine Zidane and whether or not you think that Manchester United could get him on a short-term basis. Danny, it's a nice thought, but I don't think it will happen with Zidane. No, seriously, doubt it. Sophia, you're saying there, the bookies have him as evens to take over, and you can't ignore the bookies. No chance Zidane comes in. No chance, says Marco. No, says Callum. A lot of people here, you probably 80-20, I would say you don't think that Zidane would come in on a short-term basis. I personally would be very surprised because if you think about it, Zidane's got a very stellar CV. He's done great work at Real Madrid over 2 different periods. Why would he come into Manchester United now on a short-term basis, take over a team which is 7th, really struggling, with the intention of then leaving him before the end of the year? It's not a lose-lose situation for him. As I said, certainly if we qualify for the Champions League knockouts, maybe that would be the perfect situation for Zidane. Maybe Zidane would want that. I don't know. It doesn't strike me as something he'd want to do, but I can't rule it out. Rishab saying, heartbroken for Ole. Absolute legend. He made us believe in the club again. Yeah, well put, man. He did make us believe in it, Glenn. Because remember where we were under Mourinho. No one had any goddamn belief. No one had any belief. Pardon me. Jason, no chance Zidane will look at United. He wants the France job. Of course he does want that France job. That is the reason that Zidane hasn't basically already been announced as Manchester United manager, in my own opinion. It's for the best, says John. He was a very good player, but a terrible manager. He was a good manager to a certain point, but then when he got exposed and he plateaued, he didn't know what to do. He did not know what to do. And the first time we saw that, the warning sign came when we went top of the Premier League last season. And we were like, shit, we're top. We don't know what to do. And all of a sudden, our form completely fell off. City then won like 12, 13 in a row and then dominated the league. That was the first warning sign that we saw from Solskjaer. Then the Europa League final happened. And then this season has happened. And it's just been a spiraling tailspin, I call it. And we know that he needed to be sacked, and he has been sacked. Let me run through the official statement. For anybody just joining in, welcome to United People's TV. Pleasure to have you on board here. Please consider subscribing. It's free. Hit that subscribe button down below. The club statement on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Let me read it one more time for everybody here. Manchester United have announced that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has left his role as Manchester United manager. Ole will always be a legend at Manchester United, and it is with regret that we have reached this difficult decision. While the past few weeks have been disappointing, they should not obscure all the work he has done over the last 3 years to rebuild the foundations for long-term success. Ole leaves with our sincerest thanks for his tireless efforts as manager and our very best wishes for the future. His place in the club's history will always be secure, not just for his story as a player, but as a great man and manager who gave us many great moments. He will forever be welcome back at Old Trafford as part of the Manchester United family. And United, they're confirming that Carrick will now take charge for the forthcoming games. Building on top of that, this is what Fabrizio Romano said, that Carrick will take charge and Mike Phelan and Kieran McKenna are going to stay with him inside that coaching setup. That surprised a lot of people. It hasn't surprised me. And as I said before, I'm not going to personally lose my shit over that. I just don't want it to be anything longer than a couple of weeks. It has to be on a purely interim basis. All right. Now that we've panicked as a football club and we've bollocksed it up and we haven't sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer during the international break, we're in sheer panic mode. And sheer panic mode, even if we weren't in sheer panic mode and we sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we still probably would have got Michael Carrick, Mike Phelan, and Kieran McKenna taken over on an interim basis. But it has to be on the interim basis. That's the thing I'm saying here. 2 weeks. That's what I need. That's what I'm giving the club. 2 weeks. If we don't do it within inside 2 weeks, it's a problem. It's a real problem. Let me head down here and keep reading as many of your comments out as possible. Roy Keane and Scholes to the end of the season. Well, it would be decent in midfield if that happened. Glazer needs to take a long, hard look at themselves, says Brian. The club is not a money box for them. It is a money box for them. It always has been a money box for them, and they've made plenty of money out of it. So they would definitely disagree with you. Even though I know you're right. They're arseholes, and that's what they do. And Nathan, I see you this morning there, buddy, saying the board has been very stubborn in sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I feel they must have a plan now, and that's why they went through with it. I disagree with that. I don't think they have a plan. I think they basically just really, really realized and they finally accepted that after Watford, you can't condone it anymore. You can't go any further because we are slipping away from that top four, and we always know that's the thing. That's the thing that stops them. We are a top four club now. We're not our title rivals. We went into the season genuinely all hoping that we could have a title push this year. We had belief in it. Now look at us. Jesus Christ, we've fallen. Why do we need 2 weeks, says Orr? Spurs replaced their manager in 48 hours. Our club is a joke. We are run by the placement kid. Hey, look, I'm not saying that the club has 2 weeks. I'm saying that in terms of an interim basis, I want it done within these 2 weeks. The sooner, the better. But I want it done within these 2 weeks. That's my own personal opinion. You can let me know what you think about that. Penkari saying a limited selection for manager. Who's the board going to choose? Tell you what, as I said, I'm going to do a video that I'm going to get out this afternoon. Going to take a look, title it like Manchester United's interim manager. Look at the shortlist. Going to run through all the options that are being linked with United. That's going to be a very important video for us to all have a big discussion about. So make sure you check that out later on. Let me see if anything else is developing on this story as we're here live on this stream together. Just the fact that Michael Carrick has requested both that Phelan and McKenna stay in the backroom staff to help him at this particular moment in time. Let's go down here and let's read more of your comments out here. So keep firing in your opinions, ladies and gents, and your questions. What are the questions you've got right now? That's what I want to know. So fire your questions in down there. Danny White, you're saying Zidane is coming, but not until the end of the season. Roy Keane is a replacement. I've already said my piece on Roy Keane. And Zidane, I can't see Zidane. I can't see Zidane coming in the summer. I don't know. Damien Levitt, is Zidane really the right man for the job? Look, Zidane? Damien, if you head over to the YouTube channel, United People's TV, there's a couple of videos there on Zidane. I've taken a look at the full story of the reports last week, and I also did an in-depth statistical analysis with research into Zidane, into his style, into his philosophies. Please go and check that out. It will help United fans, it'll help you all understand really the ins and outs of Zidane. And the thing I would say about Zidane compared to Ten Hag, compared to Rodgers, compared to Rangnick, it's quite hard to define a style for Zidane. He's not somebody who is going to be written into the football evolution books. He doesn't really have something that's game-changing. He plays a 4-3-3 and he plays it very well. The players seem to know what they're doing. He's not like ripping the rule book up and bringing in some tactical fluidity and all these new styles. He's not that sort of manager. It's quite simple, but it worked very well for him. But he doesn't really have a philosophy that he would imprint onto a club in the same way that Ten Hag would, or Rangnick, or Rodgers. That's what I've drawn from the research that I've done on all four of those managers. Poch can't even win the league with PSG. He can piss off. Well, what's your opinion on Poch, eh? Poch is obviously going to be a name that comes back up. Poch was there linked with the job for Manchester United on a permanent basis before Solskjaer got the job. Now Solskjaer has been sacked and everything's kicking off with PSG. You can't rule out the fact that Poch is going to come back on the list. Let me go down here. Let's have a look. This is from United Report. Another update from United Report. Let's pull this one up for you. See what this says. Right. Let's go down here. Let's pull this up. One senior executive at a rival Premier League club expressed astonishment that Manchester United had awarded Solskjaer a new 3-year contract in the summer, but reflected the wider mood within the game that it was no bad thing for the rest of us. We all know that was a strange decision to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that contract in the summer. And that's not captain hindsight speaking. You just knew it at the time. Solskjaer, and I said it all along, he would have stayed at the club with 1 day left on his contract, even if Barcelona came sniffing around him. He would stay at the club. He would not leave Manchester United in the lurch. So that contract was it was an unnecessary safety net. And look, we just gave Phelan a new contract a bloody month ago, man. That's how stubborn United were. That's how much Woodward refused to be proven wrong. But Woodward, you prick, you got it wrong completely. This is on you. On you, dickhead. Sorry. Or should have never dropped this far down for the board to act. Thank you, Ole, for what you have done. But the Glazers and Ed, hopefully we have learned from mistakes. Hey, man, I hope we've learned from our mistakes. But let's be honest, we probably haven't. I've got a new soundboard. I'm just keen to use it. That's one of them. That pretty much sums up everything that's going on right now at United. Keep firing your opinions in. I'm going to keep reading out as many as we possibly can in what is this live reaction to Solskjaer being sacked. And it's a quick comment from me on this whole situation. Is it really hurt me to watch? Personally, it didn't physically hurt me, but it really hurt to watch the last few months. Was such a staunch supporter of Solskjaer and somebody who really genuinely believes in the work that he has done behind the scenes. And I wanted him to be successful so badly. I really did. And maybe it blinded me somewhat. And I'll admit that. Maybe in the same way that Gary Neville couldn't come out and say that he should be sacked, whereas inside he was maybe thinking, yeah, he probably should be. But it's been I will never forgive the board for allowing this death by 1,000 cuts. It should have happened after Liverpool. We should have been decisive then as a football club. The writing was not on the wall. The writing it was done. It was done. But they waited until after Watford. That hurt me to watch that happen to Solskjaer. He didn't need that public humiliation. And that is on the board completely. Chris, nice to see you this morning, buddy. First order of business, sort out the contracts and appoint a new captain. Then clear out in January, survive the season, then appoint the right man to challenge for the title next season. We should be there. We should be there. And we should be there this year. Do you think that Harry Maguire will keep the captaincy under a new manager? You type yes or no in the comments now. I'll be interested to know what you think about that one. Donny van der Beek's performance yesterday was spot on, says Benji. Makes you wonder why he never got more game time. It's always going to be a big mystery, man. One of the biggest mysteries of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's management. How and why he cast Donny van der Beek to the shadows at Man United and what we saw there against Watford. As I said, in a game where Solskjaer was sacked after it, that's the sort of commitment that Van der Beek showed. It's incredible. As I said in my match reaction, I'm not sure I've ever seen a more professional approach to adversity than Donny van der Beek this season at Man United. It's truly, truly incredible. In terms of the captaincy and whether or not you think Maguire will keep it, I'll be honest. I don't think I need to explain to you what the answers are saying because let's just read them all out. I don't need to. Literally, no. I'm looking at like 95%, if not more, saying no. You want the armband taken away from Harry Maguire? I agree. I don't think Harry Maguire should have ever had the armband. He got it after, a few months at the club. It was wrong of Manchester United to give him that armband. And it's probably De Gea should have it, I think. I think De Gea this season has really stood up like a captain. De Gea, I doff my hat to you. De Gea, I apologise for saying that maybe no, I didn't say he was done and dusted. I just said it felt like it made sense for United with what we have with Dean Henderson, but Dean Henderson got COVID. De Gea was given another opportunity, and my did he take it. And the way he's carried himself in these last few games, the way he's spoken, I've liked it. If I'm being honest, I've really liked it by comparison of a lot of people. People are saying Ronaldo is captain. Yeah, you could do Ronaldo as captain, but I don't think Ronaldo needs the armband. I think Ronaldo is a captain on the pitch anyway. In the same way that you could give it to Bruno Fernandes. I would say it's probably between Bruno Fernandes and David De Gea, in my opinion. Just off the top of my head, I'd say it's between those two as to who I would like as a new captain if Harry Maguire does indeed lose that armband. Let's go down here. There's more updates coming from. Is this James Ducker? Yeah, it's coming from James Ducker. Let's have a look. Let's see what he is saying. Let's go over here. Cristiano Ronaldo feels some players in the Manchester United squad want it too easy. And he is not the only person who was around when United were winning trophies who has been alarmed by the drop in standards. Mate, Ronaldo must have absolutely shat himself when he came back into that team. Remember that Ronaldo left in 2009. 12 years later, he comes back and City are dominant. He's like, look, what's happened to Liverpool? And he's like, what is this United team? He left United off the back of winning the Champions League, winning the Ballon d'Or, and getting into the Champions League final the following year and losing it. That's the Man United he left. And we've not got to the final since. Man United have been a shambles in Europe, really, since. And we've been a shambles in the Premier League since 2013. So Ronaldo must be confused as hell as to what this Manchester United team that he's come back into. Now, things, let's hope, will change and improve because Ronaldo, whether or not you think he was the right signing, blah, 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 guy's banging in goals. Guy is the greatest goal scorer of all time. And we have got a very finite amount of time. As I said, signing Cristiano Ronaldo brought an immediacy on success and the necessity for success at Manchester United. He's only going to be here this year, maybe next year. Maybe. I'm not saying he's not in his prime, but he's still an incredible goal scorer. And we need to take advantage of that. So it'll be interesting to see who comes in. And whoever comes in next, that will be part of it, is getting the most out of Cristiano Ronaldo. And as I said, if we're looking, as Fabrizio Romano has reported here, this is the latest from Fabrizio on the whole situation. Bang up to date here on United People's TV. Saying Mike Phelan and Kieran McKenna will stay at Manchester United as things stand. After Carrick asked for both to be involved in his backroom staff, United are working to find an interim manager as soon as possible. That's going to be something I'm going to start preparing straight after this video. It's going to be a busy Sunday coming up here. But I'm going to do a video later on looking at the interim options, all right? I'm probably going to do a video tomorrow morning taking a look at Carrick as our interim manager. He's our interim manager, but I'm talking to someone a little bit more long-term. I see Carrick, Fletcher, Phelan, and McKenna all being relieved of their duties and all being shifted out of the club when a new management comes in with their own backroom coaching staff. All right. That's what I see is happening, but I don't think that will happen for a couple of weeks, in my opinion. I'm hoping it will be changed before Arsenal. That's what I'm hoping it's as soon as possible, but as long as it's before Arsenal, I won't lose my shit. But look, let's wrap this one up now. And I want to wrap it up by saying, from the bottom of my heart, a big thank you to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He really has made me believe in Manchester United again. He really has helped to rebuild foundations of our club that was shattered in the years post-Fergie. And don't let anybody try and change your narrative on that. Yeah, he's failed as a manager in terms of the football and where we wanted to be this season. But don't try and tell me I still stand by the fact that he is the best manager that we've had post-Fergie in terms of the situation that he's left the club in compared to the way he found it in. You can't say that about Mourinho. You can't say that about Van Gaal. And you can't say that about Moyes. Solskjaer has done a lot of good for Manchester United. Ultimately, he fell short when it came to the quality. That was just never in him. He tried and tried and tried, but it was never, ever in him. That's ended now. Big up to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I can't wait to do my tribute video to him. He deserves it. And he deserves your respect and your praise. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked. Manchester United have officially confirmed it. Mike Phelan, Michael Carrick, Kieran McKenna, and Darren Fletcher will remain as our interim. Carrick as our interim manager. The rest as his coaching staff, at least for the Villarreal game. Let's see if it happens or whether we get a new manager in before Chelsea. I'm going to be here with all the news here live on United People's TV. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. It's a video that we knew was coming for a long, long time. But today, here on Sunday morning, it has happened. Solskjaer has been sacked. If you would, please consider dropping a like on the video if you have enjoyed the conversation and the debate that we've had here live together. And consider subscribing because I'd love to have you involved in all the videos past this one. Thank you very much, everybody who has dropped a like on the video, subscribed, sent in your super chats, and supported the channel. Big up to Solskjaer, man. It's been a painful few weeks, but at least now we can start to look forward and look ahead to what's coming next for United, because with the quality of the squad we've got, we should be doing that as a football club. I'll be here with a video on interim manager options later on, so make sure you check that out, people. Take it easy. Have a good Sunday.